Today, let's take a look at how to create side-by-side and stacked bar charts. So I've already loaded in my data set. I have the coasters data set, and I need three different libraries for this. First is the pandas library to load in my CSV and manipulate some things. Then I have my matplotlib.pyplot, which lets us do visualizations. And then I have NumPy, which lets us change some settings in our graph. So what I'm going to do first is create a side-by-side bar chart. I'm going to create a new coding cell, and I want to compare age group and type. So we're looking to see if there's a relationship between the type, which is wooden or steel, and the age group, which is newest, recent, or older. So for our side-by-side bar charts, the first thing we need to do is have Python create a table. So if you think about a two-way table, you're going to have your types and as your columns and your age groups as your rows, or vice versa. And we're going to count up how many coasters fit into each of those categories. So I'm going to call this type table. It's just the variable I'm calling it to create this table. Need pd.crossTab. Then I need to tell it which variable are my rows and which ones are my columns. So the index are the rows, and I want that to be in the coasters data set, the column age group. And then for my columns, I want that to be coasters and then the column type. So this is going to create a table with age group as rows and type as the columns. And if I want to, I can print this type table to see what it looks like. Okay, so we've counted up how many coasters are in each of those categories. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out because I don't really need this for the rest of my side-by-side bar graph. So now, to actually create the bar graph, I'm going to do type table dot plot kind equals bar. I'm going to do plt.show. Okay. We'll change some settings in a minute. So this is our side-by-side bar chart. We have newest, older, recent, and then it's color-coded. The blue is the steel, the orange is the wooden. Now, let's look at how to customize this. Some of it is the same as what we've done with other bar charts. Some of it is a little bit different. So things that are the same, we can still do plt.title to name our chart. I'm going to go types of coasters by age group as my title. I can label my X and Y axes, do plt.x label. Let's call that age group, plt.y label. Let's call this number of coasters. And then if I want to change the scale of the y-axis, I can do that with plt.yticks, np.arange, minimum, 0, maximum, let's go 50, and let's count by fives. Now I am going to change this 50 to 51 because I want it to include 50 on my y-axis. Okay. You can also use plt.legend if you want to move that legend or reformat it. Like I can do n call for number of columns. If I want it to be horizontal instead of vertical, I can do location, if I want to move that, let's do upper center, put that in the middle. Whatever you would like to do with your legend, you have options for that. I'm going to go back to this. I think I like that for my legend. In terms of aesthetics, you can change the color of the bars just the way we did in previous examples. If you go into the type table.plot line, I can do color equals, and then I'll put the list of colors in the comments or in the description so you can check that. Let's say I want to go light blue and purple for my colors. Okay. Let's add edge color equals black so we have an outline around the bars. Now, the last thing that you might want to do here is change it to a stacked bar chart. To do that, all I have to do is come in to this type table.plot and do stacked equals true. Now, I do need to adjust my y-axis after changing that. I'm going to go 80. Okay. And this gives me a stacked bar chart. So I can see both the number of coasters in each age group. You can see that most of the coasters are in the recent age group. And I can see how many of them are steel versus wooden. So if you want a stacked bar chart, all you need to do is add that stacked equals true part. Now, there is one other variation that you might prefer. And I'm actually going to copy all of this code because I don't want to delete this graph, but most of it is the same. If I want to make a stacked bar based on percentages, so maybe I don't want it to tell me that, I don't know, 68 coasters are recent. I want to be able to tell what percent of the recent coasters are wooden versus steel. It's a very simple change. In this type table line of code, all I have to do is add normalize equals quote index. So this will create a table, again, with your age group as rows and your type as columns, but percentages instead of counts. Now, it will not write it as 20%, it will write it as 0.2. So if I want to change this graph, I will need to change my y-axis because it will only go from 0 to 1, not 0 to 100. So I'm going to say I want to count by 0.1. So now I have this graph. This stacked bars where each bar is 100%, and you can easily see what percentage of each age group's coasters are wooden versus steel. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of all of the options that you can change in the bar chart. You can look at a previous video or look at some other documentation to see what settings you can change. I will tell you one more thing. If you want to change the background color of your graph, you can do that. plt.gca.set_face color. And then whatever color you want it to be, put that inside quotes in the parentheses. I'm going to go light gray. So that is it for stacked and side-by-side bar charts.